Hello and welcome to the Comedian's Paradise. Now, at the moment, Marvin is not here at the moment. He's taking a break. So Zorro, is replacing him. Now, this is the podcast where we speak to inspirational, interesting comedians from across the globe that will help you find your own comedy niche. Now, today's guest is a beatboxer, like Michael Winslow, where he's a comic with the pizzazz of Dave Chappelle.
Okay.
He is a man who has traveled all the way from Korea all the way to London. Please welcome to Britain, Sang Don Park.
Hey, what's up? What's up? What's up? Thank you for having me. Really, really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure to have you all the way here. How was it? Thank you for coming on. And how did you create that beat that sounded like a hula hoop?
Like a hula hoop?
With style.
Yeah, just watch a lot of YouTube videos. and have no friends when you go to America. That's pretty much it.
That sounds like a lot of comedians' childhood trauma.
That's it. Honestly, I think basically I did, like, when I went to America, I didn't speak English that well, and then like one of my defense mechanisms to not get bullied was to take the piss out of myself so that other people would laugh and get along with me. I would just be like, "Oh, don't hit me," or like really act stupid, like genuinely. And kids thought that was funny, and I think that's where I kind of like developed like a sense of humor to kind of like really make friends. And oh god, it sounds depressing. Like, yeah, like just like really enjoy making people laugh and everything.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Like when I'm not being solo and saving people.
Yeah.
When I get to laugh, it feels the joy like taking heroin in the streets.
That is an accurate way of describing comedy. Like when you do really well, it is like taking drugs. Like especially when you do new material, or when you're like freestyling, or like when you're like, you know, like doing crowd work, and like you say something and people laugh, and it's just like, oh, fuck yeah! Like it just feels like drugs. Like there's you get it, but we say something like, I know it's crazy. People are like, and it's like a mini snort, and you're like, oh, and it just feels so good. So I think that's an accurate way.
Okay. As you can see from the start of the podcast, Sang Dong Park is a man of many stories. He is like a Tony Soprano of comedy.
How you doing?
How do you do the accent? What's the instructions? Is me being English to do that voice?
Do you want to know how to do an American accent?
No, I need to learn how to do so I don't hurt my voice.
Yeah.
Italian American accent.
Yeah. Well, okay, so just accents in general. Is that the question?
How do I be Tony Soprano?
Oh. You gotta use your how you doing? Like I can't. Well, I mean, I just did a typical like, you know, like Italian American, like, you know, like accent. I'm not really good at it, but I think the secret is in comedy. Like we discussed earlier, primary objective is to generate laughter. And it's not like, I mean, like skill set is definitely involved, like a lot. You should be, you know, you should have good techniques. But sometimes when an accent is not good, isn't that funny in itself? Like Dave Chappelle's like typical Chinese. Hello, everybody, I'm Chinese. Like it's so not good. It's so not good. It's just like, no, you just have a lisp. You're just biting your tongue. Like, but like people like, you know, like no one is really like saying that, as long as you're like executing it with confidence and like you just kind of do the accent. Like that's just how I feel. Because I think if your accent is like really good, people are gonna start like clapping and like being impressed, as opposed to generating laughter. And then they're gonna see you as an impressionist, as opposed to like a comic.
Of course.
Yeah.
And how did you become? You are a man of many talents. You not only tell the jokes of the beats, but you make noises that make laughs as a beatboxer. How did you become a beatboxer and a
Yeah.
comedian?
Yes, that's an excellent question. So I've thought about like so I like when I went to America, as mentioned before, I had a lot of trouble like making friends, and I've always been musically very involved. I played like a lot of instruments: trumpet, French horn, piano, drums, and everything, just like a good Asian boy. And yeah, and I used to go to church, and there was this guy who would like break dance and who would rap, and I was like, dude, I could totally break dance. And then like I tried breakdancing, and I realized I was too fat for it, so that didn't really work out. And like he also like beatbox as well, and I copied him, and I got the basics down. And then like people were like, wow, you can like beatbox, and I YouTubed it, and I learned it more seriously from there, and I just kept going. And it's been one of my passions ever since then. So that's how I got started in beatboxing. And did you also ask how I got started in stand-up comedy, or?
Yes.
Okay, now you did. Yeah, so after I came back to Korea in 2010, after living in America for like 7.5 years, I went to a small international school. There was only like 40 kids in like my grade, and so small school. All my friends were like, "Hey, like your beatboxing, it gets old. It's boring. It's the same stuff all the time." And I was like, "Who let you speak? This is very not cool." So, and my history teacher showed me this comedian called Russell Peters, Indo-Canadian comic, who's a master of accents, and I saw that comedy specials are like an hour or more longer. Uh, so I was like, oh, no one's ever gonna get tired of this. This will be great. I still can't do an hour at all. All very close if you allow crowd work. But like I thought at that moment when I was like when I was in my last year of secondary school, I could totally do stand-up comedy. And I and I did stand-up comedy in my high school. And it was so stupid. But there was a moment where I made fun of the teachers, and I started impersonating the teachers, like, "Hey, today we're gonna learn," and people thought it was hysterical for some reason because everybody could relate to it, and it like that laughter high is what kind of kept me going from there. So yeah,
And was this in Korea or was this in America?
this was in South Korea, so I started officially in South Korea.
Okay. And did you have you had a mixture, like you start comedy in South Korea, then you spend time in America? How did
Oh yes, just to give you context, so I immigrated to the United States when I was like 9 or 10 years old, and I lived there consecutively for 7.5 years. And I only like beatbox. I didn't even know what stand up comedy was. And when I came back to Korea in 2010, uh, South, I have to clarify for some people who still don't know. When I came back to South Korea, uh, I went to a small international school in South Korea, and like we had kids from all over the place. Kids whose parents were involved in the embassy, and like a lot of international students. And that's where I started stand-up comedy. And then from there, I did stand-up comedy in Korea, and then I went to Australia as an exchange student for 6 months, and I did comedy very, very extensively and seriously there. And I came back, and I kept going, and then now we're here.
Okay. So when you're doing comedy in Korean and when you're doing it in English, how does it differ? Like in Korea, do you just say jokes about oi bitch laugh? Or in America, is it like bit of style, a bit of wordsmith, but in Korea it's like you have to be a good boss of an Asian man.
Yeah. This is a great question. Like I actually did comedy in Korean like only like twice, and like no, like 3 times, and like I suck at it doing it in Korean because I can speak the language natively, but I don't have like all the like the slang. There's too many slangs in like language. Like even in British English, there's too many different accents. It's just like that in Korean. Like I'm not gonna know all the nuances because I was academically mostly educated in English. So like I don't like whenever we're speaking English, we're not thinking. But like in Korean, I kind of have to like adjust it, and there's too many syllables. Like like I'm sure there's a lot of formality in like Asian languages. So I like first of all, like you go up there, like if you want to say hello in English, you just go, "What's up?" or like, "Hey." That's it. But in Korean, you have to be like, "안녕하세요." Like it's just like too long. It's too formal. You can't talk in a casual sense because you got to talk in a formal sense. Yeah, it's too difficult. Like I just can't be bothered to do it. There is a stand-up comedy scene run by my friend Fernando, who I used to work extensively together with at his comedy club called decade.Comedy Club, and he runs all the shows, and it's great. But like, yeah, I just like also I don't know, like I need my confidence to do it, but I just don't have the confidence when I do it in Korean. So it's very different.
Hmm. So what do you make of a comedian like Eddie Izzard? Like he is a, I don't know what to describe of. No, do you know him?
Yes, yes, yes.
I'm just
He
saying Eddie Izzard and say it like that.
yeah. Okay. So assuming that Eddie Izzard is not in drag and like using he him pronouns. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the fact that he can do it in like multiple languages. I've heard he can do it in like Spanish and French, I think, and like I don't know about German, but like yeah, I think it is amazing. And then like I worked a lot with like non-native English speaking comedians, and like they have their own style that they can approach comedy with. It gives them an advantage. But at the end of the day, like I think it's got to be so stressful because like I mean, like I always thought I spoke English fluently, and then I came over here, and I'm like, what is a ground floor? Like, what is a ground floor? And I'm half the time I'm just so confused. I'm like, what do you mean by all this? Like, I'm just like so confused. Like, why do bars close early? And like, it is part of my act, but at the same time, I'm genuinely like I didn't know what a Wetherspoons was for like 3 months, and I was just like, oh, that's like a funny punchline that comedians like to use. I'm so stupid. Like it feels like I'm relearning like a lot of the culture again. So I can only imagine how difficult it must be, like for those comedians, to like go through that like again, because I have to make the extra effort to like make all of my material very international and very very relatable, to connect with everybody. And then someone who's lived here all their life, like you just go on, but hey, like like hey, like like this was crazy, right? And like the news, and they could just talk about something local, and people would love it, and they would connect to it automatically. And I don't have the luxury to do that, so it's very very stressful. It feels very lonely. It's depressing. So I can only imagine how much like difficulty Eddie Izzard must have gone through. So I
Hmm.
think that's like an amazing amazing feat.
And if is Korean humor similar to Western humor? I know you already mentioned with the
No,
slang and all that, but
yeah,
it's like British. They're known for being sarcastic, quite witty.
yeah.
What about Korean humor? Is it quite? Do they rip your arsehole and they like destroy you with destructive words, and that's funny? What is it?
No, we're really passive. Like, so when I got to the UK, and then like I saw that like London people, at least, all right, British people, like they're very like shy, passive, non-confrontational. Until you drink alcohol and you talk about football, then you can see the colonial singing, like the aggressive energy. I was like, oh my god, they're just like Korean people. Like Korean people have no personality. We're very boring until we drink alcohol. We talk about football, and like we like fucking, sorry for cursing too much, but like yeah, like we're very very passive and like and stuff. So there's like no heckling culture. First of all, there's no like none of that. And like our humor, like we don't have stand-up comedy, and like our form of comedy is not as open-minded as like Western comedy, where you can make fun of politicians like openly, like make fun of other people, of other groups, without like there's a lot of sense of conformity in South Korea. So if I were to like openly like like let's say like make fun of women, but it could be taken as a joke. But like if enough people were like, hey, this is like misogyny and like patriarchy and stuff, then they would all like conform to it. But yeah, this is bad, because like everybody doesn't want confrontation or like arguments and stuff. It's part of our culture to be like, hey, like don't argue, do not have feelings. That's inefficient. Just keep the thing moving, keep the economy moving. Like I feel like that's our culture. So the humor is very very limiting. And also like we're a little bit behind on like on like gender equality, and like like all the newer ideologies, like the positive ideologies, like like for like like support for LGBTQIA plus community and all this stuff. It's really like yeah. So there is, comparatively, there is kind of does feel behind, but that's something that we can hope to like change in the future. Sorry, this is getting really extensive, but I want to tell you like all the details of it. Um, so and yeah, like there's a lot of humor where it's just like, hey, guess what? I'm ugly. Like, or like, hey, what's that? It's just like, come on, man. Like yeah, like just do like make it more creative and stuff. And this is no disrespect to the Korean comedy, but like we do think that because it's a newer culture, that's why you notice there's a lot of like different nuances and different paces of like sense of humor. But at the same time, I as a comedian who performed in a few different countries, I do believe that funny is funny. That's my theory. If you're not funny in one country, you will not be funny in another, and you can only blame the audience for so long. If you have good solid material that is funny in one country, it will work.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is yeah, what do you make of what? No, I'm Zorro. I cannot.
Yeah, I was gonna say, where did your yeah? It's okay. It's okay.
What uh, what do you make of comedians who blame the audience for not being funny?
Yeah, this is an interesting discussion. So it's difficult because like I would never try to blame the audience. First of all, I think I would like to confidently say I perform for some of the worst audiences because in South Korea, English is not a native language, and most of the people don't speak it, and the grammatical structure is very like it's opposite. So it's not like in Europe where most people, even though it's not their first language, they still speak it like very fluently. It's not like that at all. Like it's like I've performed for people who are like, what are you? What are we doing? Like I'm here to drink with my friends. Like why are you interrupting in like in a foreign language? Yeah, so I perform for some of the worst vibes, venues, and energies, and I still don't blame them because like then you just decrease your standard. Obviously, like if the audience is like very like that and not feeling it, then you shouldn't expect like a comedy club level of laughter and everything. You just kind of go, okay, well let me like riff or let me connect with you and let me see if I can generate any form of little bit of laughter, and that should be fine. And then you should be more flexible. That's how I always say it. Try to be like more flexible and like don't give up. Do not. Sorry for you. Like I just feel very passionate about this. Like don't be like, oh, the audience sucks. I'm freaking amazing, beautiful, and I understand. Like we all go through that, but like freaking fight. Don't do not give in. Like don't be helpless. Be proactive and like shoot those punchlines and like or figure it out. Riff a little bit. Talk about what the bar looks like, which is a very common technique that I like to implement to kind of warm up the audience because it hyper localizes the material, and also like like speak with them and like like connect with them, and then once you have them on your side, you can do it. Even in like in the UK, I performed for a bunch of Romanians. Some of them didn't even speak any English, and I had the most fun. But I could tell not everybody did because you've got to lower your standards and be like, hey, like what can I like make out of this situation? That I just kind of like see it like that. I try to like I really try to be flexible, and I really don't want to like blame the audience. Like I'm very harsh on myself. I'm like an Asian parent to myself. Like every gig, it's like, hey, that was good. Oh, do better. No, not good enough. Like yeah, that's a Japanese accent, but we're allowed to do that. So it's that's how I always see it. But that's just like my perspective. At the same time, I know like when the audience is drunk, they're not cooperative. They're just like, I don't want to be here and stuff, and it's very difficult. I get it. I get it. But I would always try to like do my absolute best to kind of like really like control it, because my philosophy is you control the audience. They don't control you. So you can do it. Yeah. Sorry,
So, no, that's fine. What do you make of this situation that was out of nowhere, where I was speaking to a guy and his girlfriend in a crowd? I chatted to the lady to try and build a bit of rapport, and then the man, he punched me.
Wait, did this really happen?
No.
Okay. I think that's just like that's just like crazy. That's like if that was so like you were like talking about you were doing crowd work and like hypothetically man punches you. Yeah, and clearly like that is but dude, I would love to make a joke out of it and all that stuff.
But so you mentioned about doing the Japanese accent.
Yeah.
Do I sound Japanese?
You sound more like hybrid French.
Okay.
Hey, I'm Zorro. Hey, je ne pas comprends. Yeah.
Oh shit.
No, it's okay. It's fine. It's fine. I know you're Zorro.
I am Zorro. Nah.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned before about the Japanese accent.
Yeah.
You mentioned before in the podcast that there's a bit of beef between Japan and Korea, and you said it's reverse colonization when I went to Japanese coffee shop, and they're all Korean.
Yeah, absolutely hilarious. Like I mentioned before, they all try to do that. You know, when you walk into a sushi place, they all try to, like, in the Japanese language, and I can clearly hear the Korean accent in their failed attempt to speak Japanese, and and then they speak to each other in Korean. So I hear it, and I'm like, hey, bro, like I was also in that neighborhood, and they're like, oh, what's up? So it's hilarious. And this is intercontinental because this happens in Melbourne, Australia as well. And I went up to a Korean manager. I'm like, what are you doing? Like this is all Korean working at a Japanese cuisine place. And they're like, I know. I'm sorry, brother. Like it's just like it's just like a hilarious thing. But you got to pay the bills. And if you're there on a working holiday visa, I get it. Most of the Koreans end up working in hospitality. So yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. And like, say what you want about the Japanese history and the people, they've got great culture and they have delicious food. It's amazing. Like, yeah.
Which is better, Korean or Japanese food?
Okay, well, I'm legally licensed to only say Korean. I am not allowed to like if I do, like somebody would shoot me right out, like and I just die for bringing shame and dishonor to my country. But like the thing is, I grew up with Korean food, and we have a lot of variety. I think when like an English person who grew up in England goes, I love Korean food, I get really no, but I want to show you like more. There's like more. I feel like Aladdin, like I can show you like more spices. There's more because and also what the Korean restaurants here do is they localize the taste. They really like take out all the spice and take out all the like the seasoning to like match the British taste buds and everything. So they're not getting, it's not doing justice, like they're not getting like a proper like like Korean style food and everything. So like yeah, I love it, and also like I miss it so much. I think about it all the time. Like yeah.
Oh, what about the Korean barbecues?
Oh
You
yeah,
must
dude.
enjoy them.
Yeah, it's absolutely the best. It's also like I think what's criminal is how much they charge for Korean barbecue in London. Absolutely offensive. It's supposed to be that expensive all the time. Obviously, if you go to a fancy one, like yeah, but if you go to like a regular one, there's like an all you can eat for like often 10 pounds or like 7 pounds in South Korea. But so like did you only grow up in the UK, or did you also grow up in other countries, or
I grew up mostly in the UK, but I spent time in France, in America, and yeah, the Korean barbecues were better in America. But I do have to say that what I want to say about Korean food. Yes, I love it. It's great. It's delicious food.
yeah.
Um, I've forgotten what I want to say, but Korean food's amazing. There's a
Oh, okay.
big Korean community near me in New Malden, so I often
Yeah.
go there a lot.
Yeah. I still have yet to go to New Malden. I would love to visit, and I just would be like, oh, I miss everything. I mean, so since Zoro, since you are part Chinese, if am I allowed to explore that, or
Yes,
are you all
yes,
okay?
yes.
Yeah. Did you? So you also grew up with like like proper Chinese food and everything. What are your thoughts on like the British version of like Chinese food? Be honest.
Uh, it's it's good. It's not too bad, but
Okay.
I my mum moved from China, the family to Thailand because of the war with
Oh.
Japan
Okay.
and China. But I do the food isn't too bad over here. It's better than it is in America. But
Oh. Okay.
I have to say I don't remember going to China. All I remember is being chased by a wild pig.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. I
And then I
see.
ate it.
Yeah. Okay. Uh yeah, because like some of the Korean food that I've gotten here, I was just like, I've never been offended that much. And like comedians hear the most offensive jokes, and I'm like, dude, what are you like? What are you like? They don't make it authentic and stuff. So, but I don't know. That's good that at least the Chinese food and like all the Asian cuisine is not bad and matches up to your taste.
What is a Korean dish in the UK that you come to Korean restaurants that you're disappointed not to see in the menu?
They messed up our fried rice, man. Because we also have great fried rice culture. We have like a kimchi fried rice culture. Kimchi is one of our main side dishes. I think it's like our pretty much our national food. They put like 4 slices of kimchi in my kimchi fried rice. I'm like, no, there needs to be lots. It's like imagine you're English. Imagine you order fish and chips and they give you like like five or like 3 like fish on it. You go, what are you doing? Like, what's wrong with you? Like, this is offensive. No sauce, like no, like yeah, and and like yeah, they did that, and like you're supposed to put like spam. Spam is a big culture of our like dish in there, and like spam like really goes well with kimchi. I know a lot of people don't like spam, but it goes really well with kimchi for kimchi fried rice. None of that stuff. Also, they made my kimchi vegan. Like, what are you? No, no. That's not okay. I support veganism and it's really good for the environment. But just know when you're making my kimchi, like a lot of people use like whatchamacallit, like a lot of mollusk, or like, this is a terrible way of describing it, but like like oysters and like clams and those like like what's the category, like how do you describe those? I completely forgot the word. Uh, just I need an entire ocean to die for my kimchi. Like I want, like that's what I need. I need all the sea critters to just suffer to make my kimchi proper. I don't want carrot slices in my kimchi. Like if you tell an average Korean person like, hey, do you want vegan kimchi? They're gonna be like, put that fake shit away. That's no, that's not okay. Yeah.
What so there's a big thing with like K-pop. A lot of Korean programs seem to be taking over the world, like Squid
Yeah.
Game,
Yeah.
biggest selling Netflix show.
Yeah.
So many movies are coming out. What do you think is the reason for like a lot of Korean art forms doing so well?
I have no idea. Honestly, do you remember Gangnam Style? Gangnam Style? Gangnam Style?
Oh God.
Yeah, I was in Korea when it first came out, and I was like, "This song sucks." And I work in Gangnam, so I work in that area. I know exactly what he's talking about, and I was like, "This song is so stupid." And then it went all over the internet. I was like, "Hey man, I'm a big fan of this, like that beautiful piece of art." I had to change my mind real quick. I don't like it's just like I don't know what it is. It's really it really is crazy, and like like that's what my dad said. It's like, hey son, you're not that talented, but like Korea is really getting international, so like use that to your advantage. Just like talk about that and I think it'll work out for you, but like try to be funny. That's what my dad said before coming to London. He's so great. He just keeps my ego in check. He makes sure I have no self-esteem, and I love it. It's fantastic. So like like yeah, like my theory is I think like South Koreans, like our culture is like just work our ass off. Like we have a small peninsula, but population wise it's very densely populated, so you have to work your butt off for like anything. And like everybody, a lot of people are forced to go to college and everything because like it's just really competitive. And like so there's this culture of like, yo, like if you're gonna do the arts, you better work, you better, it's very risky, so you better give up everything and like die trying. Because we all know like pursuing the arts is very risky. Like it's not like your standard 9 to 5. It's very like we don't know what's going to happen, so a lot of people work their butt off. And like I know some K-pop trainees, and the audition process and everything, the work process is rigorous. Like I have a joke about it, but if you're over a certain weight or if you're under a certain height, they're like, no, they will just not let you be part of a K-pop idol. And you practice like consistently and stuff. So I think maybe like just all the systematic like keep working, like maybe that paid off or something. That's
Yes,
my theory on it.
it's incredible what they do. I've heard stories about K-pop people dying because of all the hard work they have to put in for the music. And I don't know, I think they're just focused on producing good content. I think one thing that's focused in Hollywood at the moment is they're worried about producing things to appear a certain way. Have you seen the Critical Drinker?
Critical what, sorry?
Drinker.
Drinker?
Critical Drinker.
I have not. What's that about?
Let me show you. He is a great YouTube channel. 1 second.
My friends, something is rotten in the state of Disney. I mean, I know that's about as obvious as saying that Saturday Night Live isn't all that funny anymore, but it goes a bit deeper than their simple creative output. All that stuff is just a symptom of a much larger problem, a problem that runs to the very core of the company. And if the recent news about power struggles at the highest levels, disastrous financial performance, and even rumours of layoffs and selling some of their biggest IPs are to be believed, that problem is getting harder and harder to ignore, especially if you happen to be one of the company's board of directors, which I'm fortunately not, so excuse me while I have a good old laugh at their expense. The first and most obvious of the problems facing Disney are financial. Numbers don't lie after all, unless you happen to be a Hollywood accountant with a very expensive habit to fund, and the numbers released to the public paint a grim picture indeed. Over the past 2 years, Disney's share price has declined almost 50% from an all-time high of nearly $200 a share in early 2021 to just $110 in the present day. Damn, at one point it was down to less than $90 a share. You don't need to be a financial whiz kid to know that that's a disastrous fall in value, and it reflects the growing lack of investor confidence in the company. So how exactly did this happen? Well, for a start, Disney's been losing money. Badly. Their strategy of buying up every single studio and IP on the market at huge expense and absorbing them into their generic.
So yeah, he's that didn't portray a good picture of him, but he's a very honest picture of him. But he's a very honest reviewer, and he gives some hilarious scathing reviews on stuff, and he doesn't tolerate any crap.
Yeah, I like that. I think it kind of directly connects to just promoting diversity, which, like, especially in the comedy scene and like just in Hollywood in general, you know, like I really appreciate, like I think the intention is good, but sometimes like there's been like I'll tell you straight up, if we're getting personal, like there's been shows in Australia where I was not ready for skill set wise, and I know it, I could say it looking back, but I was just put on because I was Korean and I was a foreigner, and I didn't realize it then. I was just really happy for the opportunity. But I think nowadays, what I think is, it's really, I personally find it very patronizing. I mean, like Marvin, I'm sure, like, I don't know if you went through it being a mixed English national, but like where people are like, hey, we're not racist. And it's just like, oh God, it really, like, it kind of really bums me out, because like I want to be treated as an equal peer. Like, yeah, treat me like a straight white male. Like, I don't care. Like, because if you do, then you'll only be looking at my skill set. And I'd like, because if you're not, if I'm not going to be appreciated for my skill set, why do we even go to open mics in front of like 3 people and like practice? You know what I mean? Like, why do we bother developing, like, and honing, like I know you're like, you know, you're also a magician, and like you also, like, you know, like practice riffing a lot, do like your you know, like heckler's night. Like, then it's like, why do I bother if it's just all about this? You know, like, why do we even have bother to have a skill set? Like, it really feels like pity sex, and like, that's what, yeah, and that's for marriage, like my parents told me. So I want you to be like, hey, I want you because I think you're funny, and like I really like what you're doing, instead of being like, hey, like we could use an Asian comic, we would love to have you on. Which, oh man, it really makes me sad. And like, yeah, because like that's what one of my ex-girlfriends did, and I don't want you to have pity sex with me. No, it's fine, it's okay. There's nothing, that's just what happens.
But what do you make of? Yeah, it's. But if someone gave you a big part right now for £50 million, would you take it?
Oh, like an Asian part for 50 million pounds. Yeah, I guess I have no choice. Yeah, I would just have to put my pride away. It's just something that it really messes with me. But you know, money talks, and like so do opportunities and all that stuff. It really, like, yeah, because it's just like yeah, it's just like, yeah, like I get the intention, but like, you know, like if I suck, like tell me, like don't be like, no, you were great and all that stuff. That's why one of the times where I really felt appreciated was like when I got to win the Vauxhall Comedy Club Ding Dong Gong Show competition, because like I competed with people from all over the place, and one of the comics was a non-binary comic with disabilities. Shout outs. And they and people were like, okay, let's give it a shot, you know, like, this is really funny. And then like 2 minutes in, they're like, get out, you're not funny, fuck you. And I was like, Jesus Christ. so there was no like any form of pity. Like, yeah. So like that's the part where I was like, all right, then like for sure. And then I did not like win because I was a minority and like because I like I'm from South Korea or anything. So yeah.
And that's what's good about comedy audiences. They either
Yeah.
laugh or they don't.
Yeah. So yeah, sometimes like I do not want any pity laughs, but I could tell like I might generate some pity laughs because of like where I'm from and like I can feel the audience like easing down and stuff. But nah, like yeah, oftentimes like yeah, comedy audiences are like, I don't care where you're from, make me laugh. And I love that. Yeah.
Now, for anyone that's listening right now and they're like, yo, son, give me a beat. Yo, son, give me a laugh. How do they find out about you? Do they find out about you in the parks, in the zoo, in the plane, in the sky? Where is the place to find you? In the bush? What?
Well, yeah, I'm all over the social media. I'm yeah, just on there for now. I if you just type in at the Sang Show on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube, you can find me there. I have you know, multiple clips. I have a bunch of videos on there, and I'm still trying to make some. It's just video editing really sucks. So like yeah, just TheSangShow, and that is my handle for all the social media handles.
Okay, so you know where to get hold of him. If you like this episode, Marvin will be back next week without this voice.
Woo!
You can subscribe, give us a 10-star review on Amazon or iTunes, and I'll see you in the next episode.